Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the council meeting for the 7th of February. Please join with me in standing for a opening karakia. Thank you very much. We have apologies for lateness from Councillor Goff, and Councillor Cotter will also be late, and Councillor Harrison Hunt and Councillor Barber are on Zoom. Hello, Kelly. Can I have a... No, I don't. Oh, yes. Mover and second for these, please. Thank you, Councillor Peters and Councillor Henson.
Mr. Mayor, I'll also be an early departure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, got you. That. Thank you. Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks.
Councillor Peters and Victoria
Henstock. Okay. We have no declarations of interest, so we'll move on to item... Did I not put it to the vote? We all said in favour, didn't I?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they did. No, they didn't, sorry, but I did. That carried.
Sorry.
We have no declaration of interest, so we'll move on to item 3, public participation. First up, I'd like to welcome Dr. Angela Curl and Dr. Rose Crossan from the University of Otago, Christchurch, who are here to speak about their recently published report regarding access to on-demand alcohol. Welcome to the table.
Kia koutou. Thank you for having us here today. My name's Dr. Angela Curl.
Hi, I'm Rose Crossan. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Population Health at the Uni of Otago.
Yeah, I'm also from the same Department of Population Health, University of Otago in Christchurch, which is about 200 metres around the corner. So we're here to talk about our research on on-demand alcohol delivery and the local alcohol policy. So we know that on-demand availability and access to food and alcohol has been increasing, particularly since COVID. By on-demand, we mean food intended for immediate consumption and alcohol intended for immediate consumption, and that's available with delivery within 2 hours. The work we're talking about is part of a larger project that we've been doing, looking at the public health impacts of on-demand access.
So on-demand alcohol has been associated with increased rates of hazardous drinking in both Australia and New Zealand. And we know from Australian research that there are issues with age verification, so age verification processes not being followed, and also supply to people who are intoxicated through on-demand delivery services. And the issue that we've got in New Zealand is that the 2012 Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act really predates the emergence of these services, and so it's not adequately regulating them. And so on-demand alcohol is changing the local alcohol environment, and therefore we need to think beyond just physical outlets when we're considering alcohol. So we provided you with a copy of our research paper, but to summarise, what we were aiming to do was to quantify access to alcohol on demand in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. The reason we needed to do this is because previous measures have been designed for the built environment, things like alcohol outlet density or proximity to outlets, and so we need new measures for this virtual environment. We considered whether or not access differed by neighbourhood characteristics. This is physical outlet density, deprivation, and the proportion of the population who are Māori. And one key finding that we wanted to highlight for you today, that of the 3 cities we looked at, Christchurch actually had the greatest access to on-demand alcohol. And this was consistent across the city. There was no evidence that this differed by neighbourhood characteristics. It was just uniformly high across the city.
So we're now extending the published work, which we sent you, to look at more addresses across Christchurch. So we're now looking at, done some work looking at over 3,000 addresses across the city to see what on-demand alcohol is available. This map shows current physical licensed liquor stores and how accessible they are across the city with a 2-kilometre buffer, which is the area for people who are considered to have standing in licensing decisions. And these outlets, as you can see, give coverage across the whole city. If we look at on-demand outlets, there's currently 6 offering delivery within 2 hours, and they also cover the city. So there are impacts in how licensing decisions are covered if the city can be covered with 6 outlets rather than 300 when they're delivering on demand.
Yeah. So last year, so this highlights the fact that on-demand alcohol is changing the way that you as a council need to think about regulating the alcohol environment locally. Last year, the government proposed that there was going to be a review of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act, and they actually put this as one of their high priority issues, was to regulate on-demand alcohol. However, of course, this was subsequently delayed and now appears to be completely off the agenda following the change of government. However, the Community Participation Bill has re-energised efforts for local alcohol policies, and we do note that you've requested work on an LAP for Christchurch be restarted. Therefore, our recommendation is that you consider on-demand alcohol regulation in the LAP to reduce alcohol harm in the local Christchurch community. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions? Councillor Moore, Councillor Scandra.
Thank you. Well, I was actually looking up how easy it would be, even at 9 in the morning. My question is, I wonder if there's been any research go into whether many use those apps instead of driving because they've already had a few, basically, because on Uber Eats and stuff, you can order alcohol, but it's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So my presumption is that it's a big chunk will be people who simply can't or shouldn't drive.
Yeah, so
then they use the app to order it. So
that's a really good question. So in New Zealand, we don't have data to answer this because we haven't got a widespread survey, but Australian data can. And so what they did is survey Australian users of these apps. And what people said is not that they would drive because they'd run out, because you're right, it is expensive and it's being used to top people up effectively when they're already intoxicated. What they said is that they would have had to have stopped drinking. So that's that kind of association with hazardous drinking, because people who would otherwise, had these apps not been available, they would have stopped drinking. They have now got the means to be able to continue. So it's,
Makes sense. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are up to time, but this is an important subject. So, Councillor Scandra, please.
You know, we as a council spent a huge amount of money with the liquor, the LAP, etc., and went nowhere. Vaping's another issue now that they've got nicotine. When it first came, it wasn't, to try and get people off cigarettes, which is a total waste of time with regards to the vaping laws. I'm just wondering, as a council, could we lobby government to just ban this type of purchase of alcohol? That would be, because everything else we do is just going round in circles, wasting ratepayers' money.
My personal view is I think you can do both. I mean, a change of the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act would of course be beneficial for all of New Zealand, and that's something that as a council I think that you could and should be lobbying for, but that's likely to take longer than what you're able to do locally within an LAP is my view. So my perspective would be to do both.
The process of the LAP is a very ponderous one with regards to, it seems half people argue for it, half don't, and it's just a huge amount of time for our staff and cost to our ratepayers. I'm just wondering if the end result is that we just say, look, we actually, it's probably not a good thing for the society, and the government is better to move to say no.
If that could be done at a national level, I think that would be really valuable. It's whether or not there's appetite for that reform at this time, and at the moment there's no signal to suggest that.
It'd be better for us to put our ratepayers' money into our water services and our alcohol. So thank you.
Thank you. And Tyler has got his hand up, so I'll let him quickly ask a question.
Yeah, it'll be real quick. Well, from what I heard, the request was to add this into the LAP work plan that we're currently working on. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. Can we do that, Council? Mary, is that possible?
So the council can't make any resolutions based on a public forum, but they can ask staff for a report.
No.
Then
No, I don't think we need a report on it. I think that we can just talk to the team that's doing the lab and make sure that they include this in it.
Okay. Thank you.
so we could do it internally. That'd be great.
Thank you very much for your presentation. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, so next I'd like to welcome Mike Patchett from the Water and Wildlife Habitat Trust and Cameron Jasper from Walbridge Gilbert Aztec who are here to talk about the restoration and preservation of the Otukaikino catchment. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you for taking interest in our topic. The Water and Wildlife Habitat Trust, in collaboration with WG Consultants, is focused on the Otukaikino catchment. Our primary purpose there is for the preservation and building climate change resilience for our groundwater-dependent wetlands, waterways and lakes, primarily to sustain the recreational use and enjoyment of those catchments. So our primary overall objective is really healthy waterways, landscapes and wildlife in that catchment, providing social and environmental and cultural well-being for our community whilst conserving rare and threatened species. The Otukaikino, as you're probably aware, is a special place. It's bounded by the Waimakere River and obviously the northwest side of Christchurch urban environment, and it holds some quite interesting and valuable recreational reserves. It's in terms of its values, compared to the other catchments, highly valuable for both environmental, social and cultural values. It has good water quality and ecological health at this point in time, significant ecological values with rare and threatened species. Its Mahinga, Kai, Waitapu and values for tangata whenua are significant. And importantly, it has facilities and amenity for open space recreational use and enjoyment, but it is under threat. We have a long-term declining groundwater levels in that catchment. We are faced with climate change with prolonged summers and lower flows and warmer water. And we have weed and pest infestation throughout the catchment, generating pathogens and toxic algal blooms in our recreational use areas. So if I can focus on the groins, that's obviously a gem for Christchurch, excellent opportunity for healthy waterways, for its lakes and waterways, and for open space recreation. And similarly, for the Rotakahatu Recreational Reserve, a growing popularity, particularly in summer, for a diverse range of water-based recreational pursuits. Both are highly valuable to the community of Christchurch. Moving on.
So we're proposing 3 stages to this project. Stage 1, we're envisaging as a kind of momentum building and conceptualization, looking at various options to make sure these spring heads are well connected to the Waimakere River, and investigate ways with kind of an updated understanding of the catchment on how we could manage groundwater mounding and enhance groundwater storage within the catchment so that there's more consistent flows to the springs that feed these parks, streams, and wetlands. So out of stage 1 and the partnership building, we would do a feasibility study and look at a list of selected options for the north and south branch for the Otukaikino, and then from there move to stage 3 and make it happen. Our guiding principle would be natural-based solutions. So that's integrating a built environment into the natural environment where there's amenity and Mahinga Kai values, but also treatment of pollution and sediment, and things like infiltration ponds to enhance groundwater storage within this catchment. Natural-based solutions slow water down, provides treatment through wetlands and natural attenuation in soil and aquifers. And obviously built wetlands can also provide ecological amenity and cultural value or enhance what's already there. And this is a recent survey of the catchment. In the mid-catchment, you can see the known springs mapped by ECAN, kind of at the headwaters to these little tributaries that feed these lakes and parks and streams. And then as you move up in the catchment, there's more kind of accommodation space where we could manage more groundwater resources within. And so, yeah, this is stage 1 again, just kind of reiterating what we said and to finalize.
So our primary purpose is really to raise your interest in the preserving the recreational use and values of and ecological values of the Otukaikino, and that'll necessitate us adapting to a changing climate. So this is primarily about building that resilience within the catchment and its groundwater and surface water flows. But the spin-off benefit, I suppose, for the community is really to sustain, if not improve, the recreational use for open space rec throughout that catchment. So we would invite council to take an interest in the project, to explore that project with us, maybe at an officer level, with a hope that council will become one of our collaborative partners. Thank you.
Your timing is impeccable. That's absolutely fantastic. We will certainly put this forward to staff to engage with you. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. So we have no deputations by appointment and no petitions today, so we will move on to confirmation of the previous minutes. Councillor McDonald's happy to move and Councillor Peters is happy to second to confirm the open and PX minutes as set out in items 5 and 11. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Carried. So now we move on to the monthly reports for the first ones of the year from the community boards. So I'd like to welcome Paul and Jackie to the table for Coastal Burwood Linwood, please. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Tēnā koutou katoa, Mr Mayor, mena kanihira me te whakatoa ki haere whakamua mō te rā o Waitangi i te wā e whakatōmu rinei kei te whakawhirinaki ahau ki te whakapau kaha o tēnei kanihira hei tō te riti pai, toitu te riti.
Kia ora.
Got to make sure this works. There we go. So just a few highlights as usual. We had the Centre Parade highlights of early summer in East Christchurch on the 9th of December. As you can see, 3 of our elected members had a very good time. And we also had the Kite Day, which is another wonderful highlight in January. And the next thing I wanted to draw attention to was the New Brighton Commonwealth Games 50th anniversary. Commonwealth Games has drawn some attention. New Brighton Museum's Commonwealth Games 50th anniversary display was officially opened on the Saturday 13th of January 2024 by Bruce Ulrich of the New Zealand New Brighton Museum, New Zealand Olympic Committee and the Mayor. The exhibition marking the historical hosting of the British 1974 Commonwealth Games at QE2, among other venues. The museum's volunteers have worked countless hours to get all the displays ready in time for the opening. The main attraction was a rare 1974 Holden Kingswood car used by the Games officials to drive around VIPs. Those were the days, eh?
And I must say, in that photo there, looking, and I'm not using your time up because you can talk for longer, Jackie. In that photo there, you can see Carol Evans, I think, before she was a councillor, and she was also deputy mayor in the black and white photo, and then she was speaking at the museum 50 years later. It was fantastic. Great night.
Excellent. And we're delighted that there has been progress on the estuary edge. It's a highly anticipated work to restore and to protect the edge of the estuary in South Shore and South New Brighton. It's reached another milestone with the consent being lodged. And this is one of the most important projects to our community and our community board area. And it's very exciting that it is continuing to progress after some hiccups. And now on to a couple of items that are particularly important to us. Christchurch needs a complete tsunami evacuation plan. We know that there is a plan being developed, but it needs to be completed, and in particular the modelling needs to be undertaken for Christchurch and Banks Peninsula. So we're asking that enough resources allocated in the LTP to fund the modelling and the completion of the plan, as well as to support the development and updating of community response plans. So those are the plans that are done by community organisations and schools and suburbs and organisations to help their members evacuate. And also, I just want to remind the council of the Eastern Priority. Somewhat related, yesterday on Waitangi Day, the wastewater treatment plant stunk to high heaven. As you may be aware, the land around the ihutai was returned to Ngāi Tahu by the Native Land Court in 1868, and then 90 years later, the land for the plant was compulsorily acquired under the Public Works Act. The council made a commitment by resolution to the people of the East to repair your relationship with us, and I've just had some discussions with the CE, but we're still not quite sure what this means for us, what is and how it's going to be made concrete. I'm just reminding you that for it to have meaning, it must be met with funding and resourcing from the LTP. Otherwise, it's just words. And I also think that there is an opportunity to combine three things: the tsunami evacuation planning, natural hazards planning, and rebuilding the relationship with the East. So I really hope that there's a way that we can do that to use that synergy. And to try and to do this locally led, to work with our community governance teams and for those to be resourced to do this planning, which is really needed. And finally, it's not up there, but I just wanted to touch on the LAP. Council can put in place regulations to control on-demand alcohol in an LAP, which is now much, much easier to do after the passage of the Amendment Act and the Supreme Court's decision on the Auckland LAP. So the only way to appeal in an LAP now is on judicial review. So that means all you need to do is conduct a good process. So you will no longer have to go through and justify every measure that's in your LAP, as long as you conduct a good process and you have good reasons without having to meet an arbitrary standard of what a court thinks is reasonable, if that makes sense. So you need to consult with the community and work with all stakeholders. Jordan?
Okay, spot on, bud. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for coming in, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so next we have Lynn and Penelope from Banks Peninsula. Good to see you.
Ate Maria, it's lovely to see you all again after the break, and I hope you all had a good chance to get a break away from it all. It's always good to get restart. Starting off today, we have some captivating community engagement about a snap, send, solve success in Diamond Harbour. If you refer to the map up there, a customer services request has unearthed a piece of land that has been missing from official records since the days of Banks Peninsula District Council some 17 years ago. Recently, some persistent locals who used the app and staff who investigated found that plantation land on Marine Drive, Diamond Harbour pictured there, never made it to the park's asset register. With the mystery now solved as to why locals had to maintain the land, a huge thank you goes out to the individuals who this whole time took care of the land and to the staff for their investigation into the mystery. The land is now included in the asset register and staff will now maintain the walkway. So this is a fascinating piece of information and it makes me curious about what else is out there. And sticking with Diamond Harbour, I'd like to highlight Live at the Point. This superb summer event brings together friends, neighbours and visitors for a connected community gathering and to indulge in local treats and enjoy the great music. This free music event, located at Godley Head Grounds, runs every Sunday until the 18th of February. Get along if you can, it's worth it. It's a wonderfully organised event by the Diamond Harbour Community Association and supported by the Community Board. We have a Little River toilet issue. Little River Village is a very busy place in summer, and this summer hundreds if not thousands of people have had to resort to using these portaloos instead of the ladies' toilets, which are out of order. I have to tell you, it was so frustrating and disappointing to hear that the approved and budgeted toilet upgrade for Little River did not go ahead before the Christmas break as planned. Unfortunately, Heritage New Zealand is a very complex situation with their consents, and as of today we have no date of when we can break ground on this project. Council staff, elected members and locals have been scrambling to solve the issue as soon as possible. Over this busy period, the portaloos have been maintained by the council, but it still causes smells and affects surrounding businesses. Also, the much anticipated custom from the tour buses is lacking, as they have been seen skipping Little River, some of them likely due to the inadequate facilities. This has been frustrating for many, including local businesses. On a more cheerful note, we have a cruise update. Affordable shuttles are running from Ship to Christchurch, and passengers are encouraged to respect local public transport and utilise those shuttles instead. And city champions, who are wonderful volunteers, welcome and offer assistance to passengers with some fantastic manaakitanga and hospitality. Another focus that we have at the moment is unformed legal roads, for example pictured here at a Kuti track. This is one of a huge number of paper roads in Banks Peninsula. A Kuti track is like many of the tracks on the peninsula, with an ever-increasing number of people who use them. Issues include locked gates, closed gates, and these paper roads are used for walkers, cyclists and the general public, and they're allowed to access them, but we have to balance out keeping the stock safe at the same time. Pictured as one solution, which works quite well, style for hikers and farmers, but not so much cyclists. So this will be an ongoing issue we will have to figure out ways around the future. And yesterday, we had a lovely day with some smiling faces from here as well at Waitangi Day in O'Kane's Bay. We heard a message from the Governor-General, Dame Cindy Cardo, and we've got pictures next month to come, and looking forward to updating you on that then. In the meantime, thank you for your time. Kia ora.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I have a question.
Please.
The Little River toilets,
Yes.
you've got funding, you've got everything ready to go,
Yes.
but Heritage New Zealand may have a query on putting a pipe under a railway line that's not used anymore. Have I got
It's
that?
around archaeological issues, and it's quite complex. We haven't got to, I haven't fully understand what those issues are yet, but there's a hold up. So, and I guess any assistance or support that we can have from the council in kind of temporary fixes that we can use between now and when, you know, we break ground would be much appreciated.
Yeah, I'd like to think that we can break ground and build it now, and the okay from Heritage will come along to be able to use common sense and thrust a pipe under. You're not digging a trench, thrust a pipe under the railway line whilst you're at least building the thing, because I can only imagine what it's like with portaloos in this heat.
Yes.
So over the Christmas break.
It has been difficult, definitely.
If I could just make it really clear that the hold-up isn't with Heritage New Zealand. They are awaiting, staff have had discussions with them, but they are awaiting a completed application which requires an archaeological assessment, and it's getting that assessment done, which is quite complex. It needs test pits dug in order to complete that assessment. So that's been contracted out, the assessment, and that will go with the application as soon as that is complete. In the meantime, the options of a temporary overground pipe staff are not confident that that is an option that can be put into place, but they are working really hard to try and get the portaloos out of the situation.
Okay, I will go and talk to staff and see what can be done, because if you're thrusting a pipe under the ground, you're not digging it up, so you're not disturbing anything that's in the ground. Right. If you're digging a trench, you may find some archaeological stuff, but because I've done a few trenches, if you thrust it under, there's no issue. You're not damaging anything. So I will go and chase it up for you.
Yes, any assistance would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so next we have Callum and Kia, thank you, from Spraden Cashmere Heathcote.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Callum Watts o Whenua, ko Kia Leslie tēnei. We're just going to have a brief presentation today with a lot of focus on community and community development projects in our board area. So first up, just want to talk a bit about the Community Service Awards that happened at the end of last year. It was an event we decided to run it at the South Library in public, which was a new a new sort of way of doing things. Previously, we'd rented out spaces in places like the Addington Raceway, and but I think it was a really awesome experience to run the Community Service Awards in public and have people filtering in and out of the library, able to kind of poke their heads in and see what was going on and learn a bit about the kinds of work that's done in the community. For me, this was a day that really highlighted the huge extent to which council relies on the goodwill and hard work of volunteers. So yeah, there was some fascinating people, and really inspiring stories that were shared on that day. I don't know if you had anything to add to that, but,
no.
Yeah, it was good times. Next thing I want to talk about is our board's neighbourhood building project, which we're supporting with a bit of our board's Better Off funding. So this is a project in Addington where we're partnering with both leaders in the local community and neighbours Aotearoa to deliver community-led participation. So there's a lot of jargon, but essentially it means that what we're doing is we're building a network of locals who have connections, skills, and local knowledge, who are able to create a sort of a support network for people in the local community who want to lead projects or have their own ideas about cool initiatives that they could run in the community, and to sort of support people to take charge and not have kind of an agency like council or maybe an NGO come in and kind of run a program or deliver a project. It's sort of true community-led participation at its best. So I'm personally really excited about this project. It's led to some awesome things like weaving groups being started up, or veggie stalls being established at the local school. Lots of really cool things, and it's lots of things involving youth as well. And we've really drawn on heavily on the expertise of Neighbours Aotearoa, which is a not-for-profit that does this kind of work in terms of building capacity in our in Addington, with the local leaders there and giving them a framework to work with. So I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to that as well, and also a huge thanks to the board staff for the effort and their expertise and talents they've led to this project that's made it a success. South Live, did you talk to that one, Keir?
Yeah, so this is obviously continuing. Lee Sampson, one of our board members, has been sitting in with the project group, and it's getting to the exciting stage where we're seeing renders and things like that come through. And it's always awesome when you start to, you can really visualize what that space is going to look like once it's been built. So that's really exciting. As I think mentioned last time we were here, the cultural narrative is really progressing, and it's getting to that point where staff and the board have had a presentation on it, which I know was received really well by the board, and also by I've had feedback from staff at the facility that they really love it too. So that's awesome. And we should hopefully, that'll keep rolling out and be coming into the public soon, which will be, I think, a really big milestone for the public as well. One thing that we are really keen to see done well is obviously the facility will go offline while it's being rebuilt inherently. South Library is one of the busiest lending sites in the Christchurch City library networks. It's a very busy library and also hosts a service centre. We're really keen to make sure that that level of service is maintained through the rebuild process. Ideally, that would be a transitional site, somewhere that operates in the period where the main library is offline. But the key thing is that this is I believe this is the busiest lending library in the city. So taking that offline without having adequate replacement will be a big knock to the overall network. So we're really passionate about making sure that there is something that fills that gap in South Christchurch over that time period.
Cool. That's all from us.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. No questions? Good. Thank you. Okie doke. Bridget. And now.
Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone. Morena. So with me, I also have Marianne too. Do you mind if you do the clicking? Is that all right?
Yeah, sorry, wrong
Awesome. All right. So first up, I'm just taking you through some of our decisions made under delegations. So we had a few no stopping restrictions that you'll see there on Stanley's Road, Tulip Park Drive, and also parking restrictions around Norman's Road as well. And then we've also approved applications for the Discretionary Response Fund and also an application to the Board's Youth Development Fund. And just noting as well that we've got public forum there, which we have at every meeting. And then into our next slide. So, Brynwood Banter, Summer Edition. After much positive feedback was received from the first edition of the Brynwood Banter, the second edition was recently delivered to over 3,400 homes in the Brynwood area. The Brynwood Banter serves as a community-driven communication tool aimed at strengthening the bonds within the Brynwood community and keeping residents informed and engaged. There has been feedback from local groups that they have seen an increase in the number of people attending their activities, and when asked, the newcomers, how they found out about this, they said it was through the Brynwood Banter. Real tongue twister. This project is a collaboration of 7 local community groups and our local community governance team. Into the next event, the Community Board provided funding to the Bengali Association of Christchurch as a contribution towards their Doja Puja event for 2023. This is the 9th year the group have held the event, and it is getting bigger and better with other cultures joining in, which is fantastic. The event was held in the Community Hall in Bishopdale over Labour weekend, and was so successful, the number of attendees flowed over into the Bishopdale Village Green. And speaking of more wonderful community events, our Community Development Advisor, Karen Bogue, brought together a number of local organisations to host an inaugural community event at Morley Reserve in Brynwood, which is also where our Brynwood Community Garden is located. The purpose of the event was to bring local residents together and provide them with the opportunity to meet each other and find out about the range of community programs and activities in the local area. Kainga Ora has recently completed a new complex near to Morley Reserve, and this was seen as a great chance to welcome a large number of new families to the community. Staff from Kainga Ora put on a free sausage sizzle at the event, and the local Brynwood Veggie Co-op provided families with lovely fresh produce. The event was held in partnership with the local community governance team, Fendleton Library, St Aidan's Church, The Village, New Generation Church, Brynwood Community Gardens, Brynwood Chapel, Brynwood Veggie Co-op, Kainga Ora, North Christchurch Community Patrol, and Norwest Brass Band. The event was very successful, and the organising committee are keen for this to become an annual event. And again, more wonderful events in our ward area. We have the fantastic Culture Galore. So please mark in your calendars on the 17th of February at Ray Blank Park in Ilam to celebrate the wonderful diversity of our city. This is a fantastic event where there are, stage performances, heaps of food trucks, so you can come along for a wonderful Sunday lunch with the whānau. So thank you so much for letting us present, and happy to take any questions if there's time.
Rightio. Councillor Johansson just beat Councillor Donovan.
Oh, thank you. I was really interested in the Brynwood Bulletin.
Yeah.
Is that a community board project that you fund, or how do you get funding for it?
Yeah, so that's come from the Brynwood community.
We are funding it
at the moment. Yeah, so we're funding it, but it is an initiative that has come from the community in Brynwood. So, yeah.
And we're looking at getting some advertising.
Right.
Some of the local businesses are keen to support it.
Cool. So is that just like a project bid that you put up when you do your funding? Basically?
At the moment, it's coming out of an internal budget that we've got, a capacity building budget. But
okay.
Hopefully it won't need.
I just think it's such a great idea, and I wonder how we could, if other boards were interested in doing something similar, what the process would be to kind of learn lessons and see what we could do.
Yeah, talk to us.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, so same answer. Okay. Right, thank you very much.
Cool.
Brilliant. Good
Thank
to see you
you.
again. Thank you. Okay, Emma and you're a lone act.
Kia ora koutou, you've got the Emma and Emma show today. Apologies from Simon. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I'll just be giving you a quick rundown on what's been happening in our Waipapa Papanui Inner Central area over the last couple of months. So you'll see here a list of decisions we made under delegations in December. We had a joint meeting with the Waimaero board to make a decision on the signalisation of the Greers-Langdons intersection. You have this before you as a Part A report today. And this project is a priority in our community board plan, so we hope that you will follow our recommendation. We have another Part A before you today on the revocation of reserve status for 119 Peachy Street, which was a straightforward decision for our board. We approved tour coach parking on Cashel Street and Rolleston Ave, including recommending that a wider strategy be looked at for meeting the requirements of tour coaches in the city. We approved some lane names for the new subdivision at 35 Hawkins Road, and we received our area report for December. You'll also see there that we approved some discretionary response funding and the first of our Better Off Fund applications to the Women's Centre Incorporated. Our December meeting also saw a good number of public forum presentations, including an update on the Edgware Pool project and a resident highlighting some traffic issues in Papanui. Now if we go to the next one. Board member Sunita Gautam presented two more of our Rangatahi Awards at Te Aratai College and Pareawa Banks Avenue School in December, which was a great opportunity to acknowledge the work of these amazing students in our area. This one's going back a while now, but it's still worth mentioning. At the end of October, the Papanui Library hosted its first post-COVID stash swap. This gave a whole lot of creative crafters the chance to connect while swapping material, equipment and ideas. The end of the year saw the amazing team from Santa Claus Workshop Charitable Trust do their annual donation of handmade toys, which are all made by volunteers, and our staff were able to give these to local community groups for distribution to local families. Also at the end of last year, we welcomed a new school into our Papanui community. Marion College was opened inside what used to be a massive warehouse on Northcote Road. I was lucky enough to get a look through the building at the blessing ceremony. It's amazing what has been done with buildings inside a building. It's a vibrant, clever space, and we're happy to have the new school as part of the Papanui community. One thing we are keeping an eye on with the start of the new school year is the impact of extra traffic in the area. We've already heard complaints from neighbouring side streets about issues caused by extra on-street parking in the area, and the opening of the new Pack and Save behind the school next month could exacerbate this. We held our final community liaison meeting for 2023 in December, and this was a great opportunity for local groups to get together, reflect on the year and look forward to 2024. On the 26th of January, McFarlane Park hosted the Shirley House of Hoops. And do we have a video? Yes, we do. So that's a partnership between Youth and Cultural Development and Council. So we'd like to thank them for contributing to that and look forward to seeing more of these events across the city. And then finally, from our community board plan, we've prioritised supporting the Richmond community to revitalise Petrie Park. And it was exciting to see the community coming together in November to have input into how the park might look. We Are Richmond organised a barbecue, planting and planning event which saw a good number of locals share their ideas and connect with the park through some initial planting. And that's all from us.
Anybody got any questions? Everyone's happy? Councillor Johansson.
Thank you. Thank you for that update. I was just wondering, is there any progress on the Ferry Road crossing in Phillipstown? As the board...
I've not had an update recently.
I need to go and check. It's not on my radar.
Right. So are you guys engaging with the Phillipstown community around what the priorities are, and has anyone raised concern?
That's not been raised to me, but staff are working with the Phillipstown Hub and locals. We'll go away and find out
the latest is
Okay.
to come back to you.
I guess it's just because when the community board the old community board had Phillipstown in it, we did a community walkabout with the local community. There are a number of things that they pointed out around the crossing and the safety improvements on Ferry Road, and it's just gone very quiet. So
Yeah, we'll follow it up.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good on you. Okay, Helen, is Marie here? Just Helen boys. Oh, yep. G'day.
That's myself and our board advisor. Thank you. So I'm here to present the Waipuna, Horsell, Hornby, Riccarton Community Board report. And on the reports to the board, we had the road name for Horsell Junction Road cul-de-sac and quite a debate around that. Proposed lane names, Amy's Road and Quaffs Road. The Bradshaw Terrace Street renewal under the CRAF project funding. And I'll just point this out, that this was a road due to be done before the earthquake. And there were 2 occasions where pamphlets were dropped out for consultation, and on both occasions something happened at council and it didn't proceed. So we're really appreciative of it happening now, and so are the residents, and we won't come badgering you at long-term plan time on Bradshaw Terrace. It's over. Thank you very much. No stopping restrictions. Better off funding application, the Upper Riccarton War Memorial Library Pocket Park development. This is probably worth highlighting. There was an old library building there which recognised heroes from the First and Second World War. It was damaged during the earthquake. It wasn't picked up clearly at the time, and it stood there and was planning to be reused. Then there was a concern from a member of that trust that it wasn't earthquake safe. Council did a report on it about 4 years ago, said it wasn't safe, and we've come to the point now where the building is going to be taken down, and it's a pocket park is planned there. It's a small bit of land in between commercial shops, and it will serve the Upper Riccarton area very, very well, because it's quite a cramped space. If anyone's been there, it's probably got very poor parking facilities and very cramped. So I can answer questions later if you like. Thank you. In the discretionary response fund, just to point out, there's a newly formed association, the Sockburn Residents Association, and this is a part of Riccarton that's never really had any representation. It's in Tyler's part now of Riccarton, so it will get attention, but they have formed a residents association, which is good. Just going over the page, off the ground allocations, Youth Development Fund, including 2 who are going overseas, and the Swimming Accessibility and Activation Fund allocation. Progress on community board plan priorities. I've talked about the Better Off grant funding. South Express Cycleway light phasing. We've had a public forum presentation where concerns about the effects of the phasing of lights at South Express Cycleway at the intersection of Mandeville and Lowe Street. Lowe's fairly commercial, and the board's referred this to staff for advice. And again, the Sockburn Residents Association. In Hallsville, I've talked briefly about the Swimming Accessibility and Activation Fund grant, and there was an event on the 13th of January, and students provided games for the event, cooked and gave away 450 sausages, and did some engagement on what other events and activities young people would like to see in Hallsville, which is, as you know, a growing area with lots of young families. the Horswell Residents Association, with assistance from local council staff, organised a Horswell community presentation on getting prepared for the fire season. The community were able to hear from Fire and Emergency New Zealand, supported by Te Whatu Ora, Civil Defence Emergency Management and New Zealand Police, regarding what people can do to best protect themselves, their families and properties from wildfires. Greater Hornby organised a Christmas Fun Day, which was held on the 9th of December at Gilberthorpe School. And this popular event offered a wide range of activities. And then probably the jewel in the crown for us is the Matatiki Hornby Centre. It's going to open hopefully in April. We did a tour of the centre about a week ago. Board members, it looks well advanced. We've got speakers organised for the opening event, one of whom's Mark Peters, the other is the Mayor, if he knows that. I'm not quite sure if he's been approached. And there's other speakers as well. So this is highly, there's been quite a long time that Hornby have waited, but they're very enthusiastic about it almost being open. And that's us, thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. Councillor Templeton, then
I've
Councillor
taken the
Peet.
time, have I?
As you would.
Just a quick question over the War Memorial Library
Yes.
in Riccarton. And so after the council decision to demolish in 22, there was significant disquiet from the heritage community of Christchurch,
right.
so Civic Trust and Heritage Canterbury. And I'm just wondering if the board's engaged with either of those two organisations.
I understand the staff have, and I understand any concerns have been mitigated or appeased, if you like.
Okay.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess if you've followed through.
Yeah. So I my understanding was that engaged with the RSA, but not specifically with the heritage advocates on the actual decision to go ahead with the demolition.
They came in when we got the engineering report from council.
Yeah.
And the board recommended to council it demolish the building.
Yeah.
And that was accepted. Could be about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then Canterbury Heritage came in after that event, and they came in, I think, on Plan Change 13, which is the heritage plan change.
Yeah.
But council staff have not supported the heritage status.
Okay.
So that's my understanding. So they've put in a submission on Plan Change 13, but it's not supported by council staff.
Yeah.
It's certainly a bit of a... It's not an obvious heritage site in terms of its building features. So it's the social history around it.
Yeah, all history is social history. But yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, so it's more
thank you, Helen.
Is there anyone, I don't know if it's a staff member who wants to answer this one?
We
we're
can get the councillors some...
I've let you talk longer than you should have. Okay, Councillor Peters.
Have I talked too long? Sorry.
No, it's never happened before.
When I come on to other issues.
It's good to see. Councillor Peters, please, quickly.
Thank you. Just wanted to bring to your attention the offer that was made to Jimmy Chen previously. I'm hoping that at the opening of Matatiki, we've got the attendance of Jimmy lined up and ready.
Sorry, for
Jimmy Chen to attend and help with the opening.
Thank you. Yes.
So just wanted to ensure that we've got that in hand. And
thank you for the pool. For the pool.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And Mike Mora too. Yes.
Thank you very much for coming. Brilliant.
Thank you.
So thank you to all the boards for their first presentations of the year. And I have a mover and seconder already to receive the monthly report. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That's carried. So now we've come to the Part A reports. Okay. Yeah.
have any debate on the last one or question. A question to Mary, I just wonder if we can get an update from Civil Defence on the evacuation planning that's been done with communities. All that sort of stuff.
Yep, on that. Yep. I'm happy. You're happy to move this one. I'm more than happy to second it. Yes. Questions of staff. So do we need to get staff down here? I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll rip on to the next one, which will take all of about 30 seconds, and I'm happy to move. This is the revocation of a portion of Recreation Reserve, and 100 is item 8, 119 Petrie Street. I'm happy to move it. Councillor Scandrett's happy to second it. There'll be no questions because there's nothing to ask. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, that's carried. Shall we do... Yeah, we might as well do item 9. Is Victoria? Yeah. Yes, please. Oh, good. And I'm more than happy. Yep. Councillor McDonald is happy to move it. Councillor Scandrett is happy to second it. No questions, I don't think, because you've done such a good job. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That's carried. Brilliant. So we go back to
Jacob's just walked on.
Jacob, you're in the hot seat, mate.
Oh, and actually the person up there is also here, I think. So David.
Oh, David. Okay. Right. So we're back to item 7. The floor is yours.
Yep. Good morning, Mayor and councillors. I'm David Sang, the project manager for Greater London Road intersection.
What we have got probably, sorry to cut you a bit short, we've got a mover and seconder, so everyone I think is generally happy. But there is a couple of questions that councillors would like to ask you, Councillor Henstock. We've all read it, so.
Yeah, thank you. My first question was around cost. I see 8.3 in the report on page 101 that you've got a shortfall of 850,000, and you reference that you're going to try and look at some cost-saving options during the detailed design stage. Can you give us any update on that, what that's going to look like, and what your plan B is to make sure that there's sufficient funding to complete the project?
Yeah, we are going to, my managers are really aware of this. We are going to shifting budget from some other projects. And meanwhile, we are just started the detailed design, but we still need council's approval for the final decision. So we're going to do some investigation in the cost saving, and we are engaging early contractor involvement to minimize the cost.
So specifically, the program will draw some budget down from is the traffic signal renewals budget. So it's traffic signal related, and this is obviously traffic signals. So that's.
Thank you. Look, the second question was around one of the resulting actions from the combined community board meeting was investigating the additional measures to prevent the right-hand turning from Greers into Reynolds, but I don't see any changes to the design. Can you talk me through that, please?
Yeah, because we are underway for the detailed design. We haven't complete that. We need council's approval to proceed with the design.
So that could still come. That was with reference to some barrier or something along that medium strip to prevent the right turning traffic into Reynolds. It was a specific request from the joint community board meeting, so that's still in action.
It's still under investigation, yeah.
Thank you. The next one's just commenting in relation to the traffic stats. I see that they're really out of date. Some of these are almost 3 years old. Is there any additional anecdotal evidence or information there about that? It's 2021.
Oh yeah, those numbers are for the impact of the commercial development. We did have a traffic survey we present to the joint community board at those 3 accessible points and on Greers Road as well. So we did undertake a traffic survey during our investigation. It was last year, twice, yeah.
And my final question is, once the works are done, do you intend to do some monitoring of the impact on the local network? Yeah. There will be.
Yes. We are going to monitor the operation of those two new modified intersections.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Johansson?
Yeah, thank you. Several questions. The first is, why are we paying? Oh, sorry. Who's paying for this? Are we paying for it, or is the developer paying for it?
There was a condition, but it was removed, so we are going to pay for that.
Right. Can someone explain why we're paying for something that has been an adverse reaction to a private development that's profiting off the adverse impacts?
Yeah, we mentioned in the report it was a condition in the resource consent, but later the applicant asked for review based on updated traffic assessment, so the planning commissioner removed the condition.
So what I can't understand, like from reading the report in 5.5, increased traffic has increased challenges and safety risks for pedestrians, cyclists, result in longer delays for turning, increased in running. This project's aiming to do that. But then in 5.7, it says the applicant sought to vary the conditions based on updated assessments, and that resulted in the removal of the restriction on using Block C prior to the signalisation, which seems to indicate that even though the problem's gotten worse, our consenting has given the developer the opportunity to make the problem even bigger without the requirement to do anything. And I don't know if someone can maybe explain that.
We'll probably have to get some of our consenting people to explain that to you.
Okay, because I've raised this before as well, because in my area in the Kenaway, we had a similar situation where traffic conditions in terms of roading infrastructure, cycling infrastructure, were removed, and then we had to pay a considerable cost as a council, a few years later when the adverse impacts come. So I think there's something not working with our system, and it would be really good to understand what's happening here.
Yep. Are you done? I've got an answer to your question, I think.
So is there any way that we could get the developer to pay a contribution to this, given that there's a funding shortfall, and given that there'll be other projects that now miss out because of it?
That hasn't got a lot to do with this. What I was going to say is the developer has probably paid what some of us around here would call a very small fortune on DCs for that whole block of the Firestone site. So, and knowing a little bit about DCs, you pay them for the upgrade of roads. It's all part of it. Some might be for sewer, some might be for water, public transport, whatever. It's in there, and he will have paid, whoever he or she is, towards that. And I think going to see them to hit them up for more is not fair for the amount of development contributions they would have paid, because you've got Braintree and Cancer Society in there, and all of those. There's lots and lots of buildings in there, so the money would be substantial. Councillor Scandrick.
Yeah, I think one of the questions would be that once a decision is handed to a commissioner and the commissioner removes something, what recourse does the council have? That would be a good understanding for us. So, because once we have no say, and it's quite rightly that we have no control over the commissioners because they are independent, and they should be. But and I do understand and sympathise with the development contributions about where they go, but this is a separate issue. So it would be really good for us to understand what recourse and when we choose, if we choose to take that when a commissioner removes something from a condition that has been established by council.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, comment. Yeah, it's good. I have a question. Out of the 2 million or the 2.5, whichever, if you add the 800 grand onto it, how much is NZTA paying its normal 51% towards this? It might be written in there and I haven't seen it, and I apologise for that.
Yeah, we are going to apply for the funding, 51%.
Yeah. So we will apply for the funding from NZTA for the 2.5.
Yeah.
Okay, but we haven't done that yet because we haven't got details on.
No.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Keogh.
So going by what was signed off in the current design, the only raised platform or surface treatment is going in and out of Reynolds. The intersection itself is not going to be a raised platform, is it?
No, it's not.
And that won't change during the detailed design?
If there are any changes, we will ask for approval.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So we have, do we have a mover and seconder after all that? Yes. We did. I thought so. Okay, so any debate anyone like to talk about? Councillor Johansson, please.
Yeah, I just am really concerned. I mean, I totally understand the need for something to happen in terms of traffic safety. I think the frustration is that for pretty much as long as this new development has been in and the board's been coming to council, some of us have been asking what's happening with the traffic, it's dangerous, it's unsafe. To me, this highlights a massive problem with how we're doing consenting. If something like this development can occur, make the problem worse, and then get permission to undo conditions that are supposed to mitigate the adverse impact it's having on a local community, and then put the massive cost on us as a city to make it safe when they've benefited. So, this is really frustrating because, I've had examples in my own area where similar things have happened. If you look at the cycleway along the Heathcote River, there was supposed to be a condition in the consent or the outline development plan that the Kenaway development would actually put in cycling and pedestrian safe access given the increased truck volumes. And of course, they came to the community board and argue all sorts, and then they get some yellow lines and a little bit of undergrounding, and then we come back and spend millions of dollars on a pedestrian cycleway along the river. So it just seems to me that there's something not working within our system, and maybe we need to look at, I know we do audits of resource consents every so often, and maybe we should actually do an audit of this one to ensure that we're learning the lessons, and maybe we need to make sure that we're reviewing the commissioner's work so that when we reappoint commissioners, we do so on the basis of how they're performing. But I cannot fathom, and this report makes it really clear, how a problem has gotten worse because of the development, and yet at the same time our consenting has allowed them to do away with the conditions that were supposed to mitigate that adverse impact. I also am a little bit concerned under 6, and I'm not sure I can support it. I would like to know specifically what other projects are going to be deferred to fund the shortfall of this, and I think we should be being told, as we do with some of the change requests, we should be really clear about what project is going to suffer because of the budget overrun.
Okay, Councillor Henstock.
Thank you. I hear what Councillor Johansson is saying in respect to the increased volumes of traffic from the Langdons development, but I think it's important to note that the entire area has been subject to significant uplift, both in terms of residential developments and commercial developments. So I think to actually put the spotlight solely on that development is perhaps a little bit unfair, but I recognise that it's a contributing factor, but I don't believe that it's the sole factor for the increase in that traffic around that area. This is something that's been on the community board's radar for quite some time, so I'm really pleased to see the intersection project progressing, and I'll be supporting it. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
Phil?
Oh, g'day. Councillor Barber, good to see you, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, look, I just want to say how pleased I am to see 5A included in there. I think it's really important for staff to continue to look to assist people who are in streets where there are major changes being made. They don't need to have a lot of indented parking bays in berms, but it certainly makes a difference to a number of people's lives if they have that opportunity. So I really appreciate the fact that you're looking at that. I think it would have been really useful in a couple of other changes in various parts of my ward. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just throw my five bobs worth at it. The new development down Langdons Road has been an outstanding success. It has it's certainly lifted the whole area, and especially with turning something that was sort of quite a contaminated site and making it good for everyone, and that reserve where all the plants are planted out next to the railway line, absolutely outstanding. So I'll certainly be supporting it because it's find a point on it. It's a bugger of a intersection, and it certainly needs some work. So I'll certainly be supporting this. So I will put the Councillor Keogh.
You're completely right. And being the councillor, it's on our ward boundary there between Papanui and Harewood, that this is definitely the second most requested set of traffic lights in the entire area. So it's good to see this one go ahead.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, so we don't need to go into PX because we've sorted those minutes out already. So we'll please stand for the karakia. Thank you very much.
This screen is for us,
Which is coming to a screen near me. There we go. Okay. Kia haka te pu, kia wate, ara, kia kuriki, kia kuriki, wakata hai, homea, huria. Thank you very much for everyone's attendance. Brilliant.